In just over 2 months' time, the 21st World Cup will be held in Russia, with 32 countries all vying to become the next world champions of football. But who is the team who's going to win? Well, only time will tell, but the best way we can guess is with simulations. So in this video, I'm going to simulate the World Cup 50 times using the 2014 World Cup game for the PS3. So we'll see if there's any shock winners, see if England can win the World Cup, see who wins the World Cup the most amount of times, see who wins the golden ball, golden boot, etc. I'm going to calculate it all using Microsoft Excel so you can see it right before your eyes. So let's get into the video. So here's how I created the simulation. So I went on the 2014 game, started a new World Cup, and basically added all the 32 countries in. So you're going to see I'm going to speed it up so just to save time. I'm going to also show the very first simulation and not show the other 49 because that would take a long time, and then just show you all the stats which come up. Going back for the recording, I realised I never actually explained why I picked the 2014 World Cup game. So basically there's no 2018 World Cup game yet, but hopefully there may be some game where I can possibly do this in the future. If not, when the squads are announced, I'm probably going to try and do it on FIFA 18. But I thought it'd be interesting to see in the last World Cup, if you took those teams and made the groups the same groups as they are now, see what the results would be, if there have been any major shocks, if any like the teams which were small back then or which are big now might be smaller, etc. See if they do anything. For example, Russia were quite good on this, whereas now I think they were actually the lowest ranked team going into this World Cup. So I wanted to see if it was in 2014 with these teams, what would happen, and then see if it's actually going to be any different. And then when I do my 2018 one on FIFA 18 or whatever, I can compare the two. So quickly now, anyway, I'm going to show you what all the ratings were for all the teams, so you can see actually who were higher and who were lower. So let's have a look quickly. So yeah, Spain, Germany, Brazil, Argentina, England are all 5-star teams. Belgium, Portugal, France, Colombia, Uruguay, Croatia and Russia 4.5-star teams. So Russia may be surprising being a 4.5-star team. 4-star teams: Sweden, Serbia, Switzerland, Mexico, Poland, Denmark, Nigeria, Japan. And you got 3.5-star teams: Senegal, South Korea, Morocco, Peru, Tunisia, Australia, Egypt, Costa Rica, Iceland, and then Panama, Iran and Saudi Arabia are the 3-star teams. In terms of the countries which I think will do well, the main ones: Spain, Germany, Brazil, Argentina, France, possibly England. Can England win a World Cup? You'd like to think so, over 50 simulations. Possibly Portugal, Belgium. There's maybe a couple of others I think missed out. I'm also going to look to possibly see if there's a group of death or a group of life, because I don't know what the name. I've just came up with group of life. There's like the easiest and hardest groups based on like the pots on where teams finish. So here we are in the simulation. So basically what I do is I just advance it, and then when I get to every play match, I just simulate the match. I've not made any changes to the squads. I reset the squad so it was as it was in the base game. I think the stat is like world class and 5 minutes, but I've not really done much with the settings. So here's the first simulation. England got to the last 16, last 8, quarter-final. We've got a semi-final against Spain. So I slowed it down a bit so we can see. And then they've actually got to the final. So let's see how England do in the final. Can they win it? Can they win the very first simulation? France v Spain was the last third place playoff. England Germany final, and they've won it. England have won the very first World Cup on this simulation. It didn't take very long then, which is a bit of a surprise to me, to be honest. So then when you get past this menu, you get to see there's a golden boot, golden ball and golden glove. Storage has won the golden boot and ball, Courtois with the golden glove. So those are the things that I'm going to use when you see the Excel stats. Here's the table. So England won the final 1-0. They beat Spain 2-1, Serbia 2-1, and Poland 2-1. So a lot of 2-1s involved. And then to get the stats for the groups, you'll see in a second, I get a table up and then basically look at all the tables, see how many goals they scored and how many conceded. So get like the average stats. This is me just looking through all the stuff because I wasn't really sure what I was doing at this point. Later on I'll get to the point a bit quicker. So here we go on the stats, I think. Yep, so top scorers, storage scores 6. If there's two people with the same amount of goals, I'll only pick the one which shows up on the very first screen. So sometimes people might have the same amount of goals, but the only one, the one which shows up, especially for clean sheets, it happens a lot where goalies have the same amount. But I only picked the one which showed up on the screen. So there's yellow cards, red cards, assists, goals and clean sheets. So all of these 5 I've calculated on the Excel spreadsheet you'll see in a sec. So now we're going to go back onto the tables, I think, and then I finally realised, yeah, you can go on the group stages, and now you can see how many goals were scored, how many they conceded, how many points they got, etc. So I'm going to calculate over 50 games how many points, goals scored, goals conceded each team's do, and see which of the 2 teams on average were the ones who got in the top 2, etc. So here's the Excel spreadsheet. I think I'm going to put this in the description so you can have a look at it. So I've cleared out all the numbers, so I'll show them in a sec. So basically I put all the 32 countries, and then whatever position they finished, I put that in the table. And at the bottom I've averaged groups A to D, and then groups E to H. And then they also calculated the difference between where they finished in the last World Cup to where the average was. How many times they got to semi-finals or better, which position they finished in overall the most. There's also the 2018 World Cup column, but that's only to be added in obviously when the World Cup's done, so we can see how well this simulation was. And here's the group stage 1. So again, I've emptied out the numbers, but it's basically all the names, and then how many goals they scored on average, conceded, and then the goal difference. And then at the bottom I basically calculate the overall group stage amount of goals and the goals per game. I'm going to compare it to the 2014 World Cup to see if it was better or worse. And then here's the player tabs. So you've got the golden ball, golden boot, amount of yellows, amount of reds, etc. And I've calculated it all for the 50, and then seeing which was the most common or the average for all of them. So without further ado, let's get into the group stages and show you what happened in the different simulations. So here's the group stages. As you can see, we've got all the different teams and all the numbers added in now. So obviously the top 2 go through, so Russia and Uruguay would go through in Group A, and Spain and Portugal would go through in Group B. There's no real shocks. I think all the pot 1 teams are top of their group apart from Group B. Well, Portugal are actually the pot 1 team, and Spain were the pot 2 team, and Spain have won it in Portugal, but it's not that shocking really. There's some groups which are tighter than others. For example, Group G, the top 2 and the bottom 2 are quite obvious. You can say the same with Group G, Group B and Group A are like that. Group E, there's a slight gap between second and third, it's quite close. Same with Group D, slight gap between second and third. Group H, a little bit. And then if you look at the goal average, the 2014 World Cup was actually better than average, so it was 2.83 goals per game, whereas over the 50 simulations I did, it was 2.7 goals per game. So let's have a look at some key stats from the group stages. So here's some of the group stage stats, that's hard to say, that I picked out. So Brazil had the most points on average, Iceland had the least, highest goal scoring average was Russia, lowest was Iceland. There's a bit of a pattern here with Iceland, they didn't do very well in this simulation unfortunately. They actually conceded the most on average as well, along with Saudi Arabia. Belgium conceded the least, Russia had the best goal difference, Iceland again had the worst. Most points was Group E, when you added all the averages together, and that was Brazil's group. Least points was Group H, which was Poland's group. Most goals in the group, Group D, and that was Argentina's, and the least goals was Group E, which is funny because they had the most points but scored the least amount of goals on average. The most points needed to be in the top 2 was Group D, so you needed 4.2 points or more to be in the top 2. And Group G, which is England, you needed 1.74 or more, which is the least amount, so that's a good news for England. The biggest gap between first and last was Group D, and the smallest gap between first and last was Group B. So here now are all the finishing positions of all the teams. I'm not going to go over this fully, but I'm just going to slowly go over it. I'm going to put this also in the description, or you can pause it so you can have a look in more detail. There's a thing on the top left hand side, the colours, so you can tell what they are. So the golds is for if you won, silvers is if you came runner up, bronze if you came to semi-finals, and the other colours are only stuck in, you'll see further down. So you can see that Spain, Germany stick out quite a bit. They've got a lot of colours. England are the one with the 2 victories in 19 and the 20th attempt. So I'm just going to let you quickly look over this, and then I'll come back to show you some memorable tournaments. So here are some of the more notable simulations that I decided to pick out. So the very first simulation, as you saw, England beat Germany in the final. In the 6th simulation, Spain ended up beating Brazil in the final, and it was actually their 4th win in 5 simulations. And in the other one, which they didn't win, they actually came runners up. And then in the 10th simulation, Spain won another 3 World Cups in a row, and it's the 2nd time they'd done that. And it was the 7th World Cup they'd won in 9, so they were obviously dominating the start. The 15th simulation, that's when Russia won their 1st World Cup, beating England in the final. And this started a few shocking or surprising results, because simulation 16, Sweden won their 1st one, beating Spain in the final. Simulation 17, not so surprising, Brazil beating Germany to win their 2nd, but more surprising was the fact Iran reached the semi-finals. And then simulation 18, Colombia won their 1st one, beating Spain in the final. Then simulation 19 and 20, England won 2 in a row. Simulation 25, Belgium beat Argentina in the final. Surprisingly, Argentina never won the World Cup in the 50, which is quite surprising. Simulation 31, Spain won the 2nd World Cup in a row, but more surprising the fact Serbia reached the semi-finals. Simulation 32, Spain won again, so they won the 3rd World Cup in a row, and they've done that 3 times. Simulation 35, slight surprise, in Uruguay beat Germany in the final, and also in that same simulation Poland reached the semi-finals. Finally, simulation 49, Germany won their 4th World Cup in a row, which was the only time a country won 4 in a row, which is quite an achievement. So here's the table for the most wins that the country's had in the 50 simulations. So as you can see, top is Spain, who actually won more than twice the amount of the 2nd place team, Germany, who won 8. Brazil won 6. England did win some, they won 5, which is actually 10% of all of the simulations, so that's a pretty good job. France won 4. Russia and Portugal both won 3. Russia winning 3 is a bit of a surprise, but they were actually 4.5 star teams, so it's not that shocking as it might be if they win this World Cup. And then Belgium, Colombia, Sweden and Uruguay all won a single one. Again, Sweden, Uruguay and Colombia are probably the more shocking ones. So this is the table for the average finishing position of each country in the simulations altogether. How I calculated was if you won the tournament you got number 1, runner up 2, semi-finals 3, etc. all the way up to if you didn't make out the group stage you got number 6. Added all those numbers up, divided it by 50 to get the average. So obviously the lower your number the better you did. So as you can see, Spain were the lowest with 2.72, and then Saudi Arabia, Iceland and Panama all got 6, so that basically means they didn't make it out of the group stages once in the 50 simulations. I also calculated it for the groups A to D, which is like the top half of the draw and the bottom half of the draws, groups E to H, and actually the top half of the draw on average is slightly better than the bottom half, and the total average is 5.03, which is in between Poland and Denmark. So if you look, England did alright, 3.52, which is about, you could say they'll probably either get to semis or quarters on average. Any surprising ones really? Again, possibly Belgium. Sorry, not Belgium, Russia. It's like quite high up there. But most of the ones who you'd expect are down at the bottom, and most of the ones you expect to be quite higher up are higher up. You could say it's slightly surprising that Argentina are 3.94, even though they never won it. And then there's countries like Sweden, 5.16, who actually won it, but they're quite far down. So this table is the number of times that the countries made the semi-finals or better. So unsurprisingly again, Spain, Germany and Brazil are the top 3. England made 17 semi-finals or better, and they won it 5 times. So I don't actually calculate who had the best like semi-finals to winning sort of ratio. That could be one thing that somebody could calculate if they wanted to. You can see all the way up to like Poland, Serbia, Iran all made semi-finals at least once. But then there's quite a lot of countries who never made the semi-finals. The average is that a country made like 6.45 semi-finals, so that's probably helped by the fact, yeah, Spain and Germany bumping that average up quite a bit. Without them, it'd probably be a bit lower. Any surprising one? Croatia made 5 semis but never won it. Argentina made 11 semis and they never won it, which is not a very good return. If there's anything that I miss at all in any of these as well, just let me know down below. I'll probably miss quite a few like shocking things or like surprising things which you may spot before me, so obviously let me know. So let's move on to the next table anyway. So this is the finishing positions if it was based on just the averages. So obviously the winner was Spain because they had the lowest average. The runner-up would be Germany. Semi-finalists Brazil and England, which England would probably take. Quarter-finalists France, Argentina, Belgium, Russia, and then there's last 16 and group stages. But what would happen if it wasn't based on averages and it was based on the actual World Cup schedule? Well, let's find out. So here's the knockout stage schedule for the 2018 World Cup. It's actually the same as the 2014 World Cup. So for last 16, if you won Group A, you play the runner-up of Group B. If you won Group C, you play the runner-up of Group D, etc, etc. So what I'm going to do now is use the group stages averages from above, and then add those into the last 16, and then basically use their finishing position average to decide which one wins. So for example, if one team has a lower average than the other, then they go through to the next round and the higher average team gets knocked out. So I'm just going to quickly add in the last 16 ones, and then we'll see which one teams go through to the quarterfinals. So this is what the last 16 would look like if it's based on the simulation averages. Russia would play Portugal, France, Croatia, Spain, Uruguay, Argentina, Denmark, Brazil, Sweden, Belgium, Colombia, Germany, Switzerland, Poland, England. So most surprisingly, actually, Russia would actually beat Portugal according to the averages, and then I think every other home team, as you would class it, I think goes through. So I'm going to quickly add those, and let's see what the quarterfinals would look like. So these would be the quarterfinals. We'd have Russia, France, Brazil, Belgium, Spain, Argentina, Germany, England. And the winners would be France would win, Brazil would win, Spain would win, and unfortunately Germany would beat England. So England would go out in the quarterfinal stage to Germany, which I possibly would take, but going out to Germany is always, it's not fun. So let's go on to the semi-finals anyway and see what they would look like. So these would be the semi-finals. We'd have France v Brazil and Spain v Germany, which actually are the 2 lowest averages. So Spain would go through, and so would Brazil. So it would be a Spain-Brazil final, and as we'll see in a sec, it would be a France-Germany 3rd place match. So there we go, confirmation. It would be France v Germany in the 3rd place match, and Germany would win that with low average. And then Brazil v Spain, and Spain would win that with low average. So the world champions would be Spain and runners up Brazil. So let's see what the finishing positions would look like if you take the schedule and the averages into place. So these would be the finishing positions. Obviously the winner Spain, Brazil runners up, Germany and France 3rd and 4th place, Russia, Belgium, Argentina, England quarterfinals, and then see the last 16 and the group stages. So let's actually compare the two and see how much difference there actually is. So here's the tables for the different finishing positions compared to the averages and the real world schedule and averages for all 32 teams. There's not actually a lot of difference. I think there's only 4 teams which have differences. So France go from a quarter-finalist to a semi-finalist when you add the schedule in. We've had England go down, go from a 4th place to quarterfinals. Germany go down from finals to 3rd place, and I believe Brazil's the other one. So yeah, Brazil go from 3rd place to runners up. So actually there's only 4 differences. So now we're going to quickly look at the groups of death and groups of life. So here are the 4 different pots, and you can only have 1 team from each pot. to be in your group, and it can only be one country from each federation in each group. Apart from Europe, UEFA, they can have 2, but apart from that, everyone else has to only have 1. So from these different circumstances, these were the 2 groups that I worked out could be the group of life and group of death based on the averages. So this was the possible group of death that I worked out on. If you've got any other better suggestions on from the averages and stuff, let me know. So I got Brazil, Spain, Denmark, Nigeria. So there's 2 UEFAs in Spain and Denmark. Spain obviously won on both times. Brazil runners up in the World Cup schedules and finished 3rd on the averaging rank. Nigeria and Denmark 14th and 18th. You could have possibly put Germany into a 1 and 2, but then you had to have had a lower ranked team in pot 3 because you can't have 3 UEFAs. Nigeria, I think, were the best in pot 4 for like non-UEFAs as well. So I think that was a pretty hard group to get out of. To say that only Nigeria didn't make it out of the groups, and even then they were close to making it out of the groups. So let's have a look at what the possible group of life could have been. So this was the group of life. So only one team got out of the groups on this group of life, that's Poland, and they were the worst pot 1 team, so they had to go in. And then Iceland and Saudi Arabia didn't even make it out of the groups, so they were quite easy to stick in. And then there was one team left to put in, and I saw Mexico, and they were, again, didn't make it out of the groups, only 20th in the ranks. So if you'd got in this group, I think you would have done a pretty good job. If you can think of any easier groups as well with the ranks and etc., as long as it fits the criteria, also let me know in the comments down below. So let's go on to finally the player stats. So here's the player charts with all the different winners of the Golden Ball, Golden Boot, etc. I'm not going to go through it in detail. I'll let you have a look in your own time if you want to pause or look at the Excel spreadsheets to see if there's any weird winners, which there were a couple of weird winners, and see what they got, etc. I'm going to go through that in a sec anyway. I'll just let you have a look, and then when it's finished I'll go over in more detail who were the most, who won the Golden Ball, etc. the most. So these are the Golden Boot winners. So you got Aguero, Benteke, Klose, Rooney, Mata might be a slight weird one to win it. They all won it 4 times. Jagoev, Benzema, Kerzhakov won it 3 times. Willian, Jonas, Ozil, Ribery twice, and a lot of people won it once. So any quite surprising ones, I guess. Lampard maybe, Adrian Ramos for Colombia. The weirdest thing out of all of this is on this list, and you'll see later on in all the lists, no sign of Messi, no sign of Ronaldo. No idea what was going on. I checked, they were definitely playing in their games for Argentina and Portugal. For some reason they weren't scoring, they were scoring maybe 1 goal, 1 assist tournament. So that's quite surprising that neither of them won any of the awards at least once. So now let's go on to the Golden Ball winners, which is basically player of the tournament. So here are the Golden Ball winners. As you can see, there's a clear winner in Willian, who won it 9 times. Mata won it 6, Royce won it 4, Kerzhakov 3. Then quite a few won it 2, and quite a few won it 1. Any weird ones? Welbeck is probably the weirdest one. Welbeck won it once. No sign of Hazard, no sign of Ronaldo, no sign of Messi. There's quite a few sign players which are missing. If there's any big ones I've missed out which aren't on the list, again, let me know. Or if there's any surprising ones to you, remember this is for 2014, let me know. So now let's go on to the Golden Glove, basically most clean sheets at the tournament. So here are the Golden Glove winners, and again, one clear winner in Casillas got it 23 times with a 50, which is nearly half of them. And then Cesar, Neuer 5, Lloris Akinfi 4, English goalie Hart won it once. There's a couple of goalies I think for Argentina, maybe Croatia at the bottom, who won it a couple of times. Again, if there's any goalies that I'm missing or any countries that I'm missing, let me know. So let's go on to the final table, the most assists at the tournament. So here's the most assists. If you can see, there's 2 players and 4 players. What that means is basically 2 players shared it. Like they got the most assists 10 times. There was 4 players shared the most assists 6 times. The actual player who got the most assists was Lavezzi, and then Mata and Benzema an attacker. A few others got 2, and quite a few got it once. If there's any surprising names on there, let me know, or if there's any ones which aren't on the list again, let me know. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. There's been quite a lot of times I've asked you to comment, so I can't remember all the different things, but if there's any suggestions for any future simulations or things I could do with either the 2014 game or maybe FIFA 18, etc., let me know. Do you think my predictions will come true with the simulations? Do you think Spain, Germany, Brazil, England could do well? I think Spain will probably do well. England might not do as well, but they should get to the quarterfinals at least, looking at the teams they'll probably play in the last 16. If you want me to do a part 2 on this video, part 2 even on this video, and look into more detail maybe on England or from certain tournaments and see what some of the final scores were. Unfortunately I can't look at all the scores because I didn't record them, but I recorded like the scores of the last 16 games all the way up to the final, so I could look at those. I can't tell you who scored in the finals, but I could look and see if there's any like 5-1 finals. I don't think there was any off the top of the head. I think most of them were quite low scoring. But if you want me to look at any past tournaments or any of the simulations, let me know. If you want me to do more simulations as well, I could always do another 50, although it might take a while. It's mainly just writing the stats. If you spot any mistakes, I don't think there is any, but if you do, let me know. Thank you for watching. Hopefully see you again for another simulation.